Good morning. This is X-Pulse AI Morning Mix. Today is Wednesday, August 12th, 2026. We're starting with OpenAI's massive employee share buyback, then the new Open Frontier model shots from Meta and Nvidia, and the latest on US AI funding plus state-by-state rules. Joining me is Orion. Ready?
Ready, let's jump in.
Bloomberg reported on August 10th that OpenAI just did a huge tender offer. What happened?
OpenAI let current and former employees sell about $7 billion of shares, valuing the company around $852 billion. The notable part, Bloomberg says it was funded internally, not with outside investors, and it's being framed as a liquidity step ahead of a possible IPO.
Internally funded. What signal does that send?
It suggests OpenAI believes it can generate or access enough cash to clean up compensation pressure without bringing in a new investor at a headline valuation. It also tends to reduce employee urgency to sell on the secondary market. Basically, fewer distractions while the company prepares for bigger capital markets moves.
Does this make an IPO feel closer or just more plausible?
More plausible. A tender is often a pressure release valve, and it can help stabilize the cap table before a public process. But timing still depends on regulation, governance structure, and whether they want to report like a public company. Also, $852 billion, my calculator asked for a break.
The New York Times wrote on August 10th that Meta released Muse Glimmer, and it's open and downloadable. What's the release in plain terms?
Meta is putting out a high-capability frontier model that people can download, modify, and run under an open approach. It came with a 14-page essay from Mark Zuckerberg arguing that concentrating frontier AI inside a few companies is risky, and that wider access is healthier for innovation and power balance.
Why now? What's Meta trying to change in the market?
They're trying to shift the default expectation toward powerful models you can hold and tune, not just rent via an application programming interface. If developers can build on Meta's model without ongoing fees, it pressures closed providers on pricing and forces the conversation onto trust, safety controls, and who gets to decide the rules.
And the obvious tension, open access versus misuse. How does that debate sharpen here?
With frontier capability, openness increases both experimentation and risk. Meta's bet is that broad scrutiny and a larger ecosystem can improve defenses faster. Critics argue that once weights are out, rollback is basically impossible. Either way, this makes open versus gated the main storyline again. Open source is having a hot summer.
CNBC reported on August 11th that Nvidia released Nemotron 3.5 Lightning as open source. What did Nvidia actually ship?
Nvidia published a model that companies can download, use, and modify without licensing fees. CNBC framed it as part of Nvidia's push to make powerful models more accessible, while still aligning with its core business, because more serious AI work tends to mean more demand for Nvidia graphics processing units.
So this isn't Nvidia giving away the store, it's a strategy?
Exactly. If open models lower the barrier to building copilots, search agents, and internal tools, then more teams run more inference and training. Nvidia benefits when the ecosystem expands. It's the free razor, sell the blades logic, except the blades are data center racks.
For knowledge workers listening, what changes this quarter if your company adopts it?
It can speed up proof of concepts, especially for private deployments where you want model control and predictable costs. But it also shifts burden onto your org, evaluation, security, and ongoing fine-tuning. Open models reduce vendor lock-in. They don't remove the need for governance.
A Washington policy roundup via Mundac, published August 10th, says federal agencies are pledging more than $5 billion for AI, while states keep passing their own laws. What's in that mix?
Two forces at once: big federal spending to embed AI into critical infrastructure, healthcare, and defense, more than $5 billion, and a growing patchwork of state rules. The report points to things like Illinois audit requirements and Colorado protections around chatbots for minors, while Congress still hasn't landed comprehensive national legislation.
What does that patchwork mean for companies shipping AI features?
It pushes teams toward highest common denominator compliance, stronger documentation, model risk management, and clearer disclosures, because you don't want 50 different builds. It also elevates procurement requirements. If federal money is flowing, vendors will be asked for testing evidence, data handling details, and incident response plans.
Is this more about accelerating adoption or slowing it down?
Both. Funding accelerates deployments, especially in public services. But state-by-state obligations can slow rollouts if legal review becomes the bottleneck. The net effect is AI spreads, but with more paperwork, and the winners are the teams that operationalize compliance like it's part of engineering.
A few rapid hits to round out the morning. Fierce Healthcare reported on August 10th that Doximity is ramping AI investment and raised its fiscal 2027 revenue outlook to $671 to $681 million, while warning about near-term margin pressure. What's the read?
It's a classic adoption curve signal. Usage is pulling spend forward. They're saying clinicians are adopting faster than expected, so they're investing now and taking the margin hit. The key question is whether enterprise deployments scale smoothly. Healthcare buyers want reliability, integration, and clear accountability, not just a clever demo.
On August 11th, KFF Health News covered the $50 billion Rural Health Transformation Program, bringing AI tools to rural care, even as patients are skeptical. Meanwhile, Forbes on August 11th says Anthropic will add invisible watermarks to Claude-generated text and images. How do those connect?
They're both about trust at scale. Rural programs can't afford mystery meet AI if outcomes aren't measured. And invisible watermarks are one attempt at provenance, helpful for detection and compliance, though not foolproof. The broader theme, deployment is getting real, and so is the demand for proof.
Business Insider reported on August 11th that former OpenAI exec Kevin Weil is seeking at least a $750 million valuation for a new AI science startup. What's the news? And remind us what he's building.
The news is the valuation ask, $750 million very early, which shows how pricey top-tier AI talent remains. On the company, it's described as an AI science-focused startup, likely aiming at research automation and scientific discovery workflows, though details are still sparse in the reporting.
Last one. Zawiya cited a Nutanix survey on August 11th warning that healthcare, financial services, and the public sector face the biggest shadow AI and data sovereignty risks. What should listeners do with that?
Assume unmanaged model use is already happening and build a sanctioned path that's easier than the workaround, approved tools, logging, and clear data boundaries. Regulated industries get hit first because the data is sensitive and the penalties are real. Shadow AI is less a user problem than a platform gap.
That's XPulse AI Morning Mix for Wednesday, August 12th, 2026. If this helped, share it with someone who likes their AI news crisp and credible. See you next time.